So today, going to be doing wheel bearings and hubs on a 2006 PT Cruiser. I'll be using this tiny little press, which I've had for many years. I've hauled it around for years. It's a little difficult to do it on it because it is kind of small. I got it. It works. It does what I need. This particular car, I changed the wheel bearings out when the car had 30 to 40,000 miles on it. These are well known for having wheel bearings that didn't last 5,000 miles. I will put a link in the thread down below of a forum post with people posting how bad their wheel bearings were. There were people that when these cars were new, they would have wheel bearings go out within 5 or 10,000 miles. They'd take it to the dealer, have them replaced. They'd last another 5,000. Chrysler used extraordinarily garbage parts on these cars. And once you replace most of those parts, it's actually a pretty reliable car. Just buy the cheapest crap on eBay, and it's better than what Chrysler used. It's sad, but it's true. But now I've got one of them that now the car has about 120,000 miles or something like that, and one of them starting to make noise. So I figure that many miles out of cheap eBay parts versus the factory parts that were garbage is pretty good. This is just a beater car, so yeah, not that big a deal. We just keep it going. So I want to get to it and try to do as much as I can explaining, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I've got this one off the car, and I just want to spin this to show you how noisy it is. That's a little growly. So that's what it sounds like when it goes bad. Okay, well here's our other side. It's quieter than the passenger side, but it's still got a little bit of noise to it, and it's got a little bit of roughness, but nothing, not that big a deal. But we've got both of them. We're doing them both. So I'm gonna start yanking this thing apart. Now to do that, you can press things out. That's generally the way I go. I'll put this in the press. We'll press this out part of the way, and then we'll just bang it out with a hammer. So I'll be back, and I'll kick the camera. Now, I know I just said before I kicked the tripod that I was going to put this in and press it out. I'm not going to. It's just not worth setting it up. And all I'm going to do is just I'll smack that right here, start banging that out, then I'll put a socket here and I'll just bang it out. This thing comes out a lot easier than you realize. So I'm going to turn the air conditioner back on because it's really hot, and I'm going to bang that thing out. Now, if you can hear me, there's a couple bolts here holding this shield on. This actually holds the bearing in, surprisingly. These are 1/2 inch for some reason. Everything else on this car is metric, but you want to start backing these off, because if you pull the bearing out and it gets stuck on here, it can bend this up. that's all it is. Easy as that. And this, you can see what I'm talking about. This should come off, but if it doesn't, it'll tear up the little shield here. So best to remove it first. All right, now I'm set up to press this out, and what you want to do is have something better than that, but this is what I'm using. What you want to do is support here and here, not on the bearing, because the bearing is just pressed into this side. There's actually nothing holding the bearing from coming out except for that sheet metal thing. So yeah, you know, that's the way cars are built these days. So I'm going to put this between here, stick that right in there, and then find something to go on there. And that's also why I keep old bearings. These are really nice to put on top for pressing things through. See, I could take this, put this on here, and that actually fits better. Put that on there, and you know, that might be enough. We'll see. If not, we'll put something thicker on top of it. All right, I've repositioned this a little bit, and we'll see what happens. Boom, there it is. Easy as that. There's the old bearing. Goes in the pile. And next, I'm gonna do this off camera. I will clean everything in here really good. Just be careful. When you go to wipe this out, they did not deburr the corners on this. Hence, I have a nice little cut on the tip of my finger because it is sharp as a knife on that little corner right in there. So be really careful. So I'm going to get this all ready to go, and I'll be back. All right, I'm going to do this quickly because I just took that bearing out of the freezer, and I'm going to oil it up. Put a little oil on it. Anything you want. And when you have it frozen, you know, it's a little bit smaller. So I'm going to raise that up, hopefully enough. I'm going to take an old bearing, I'm going to put that on top. I'm going to set this little plate right here. I'm going to tighten this up and go down a little bit. Takes a week and a half, and we will got crooked a little bit. Usually this goes really easy, but not today because I'm filming. Come on, let go. Come on. We're definitely there. See, the other one just flew right in there while the camera wasn't working. And when you do this, you want to push on this outer race out here. Do not push in here. because if you push in here, you can destroy the bearings. So that's why you keep your old bearings. And what's really handy for some of them, when you keep these old bearings, this one is the exact same dimensions everywhere else, except it's slightly smaller. So if you've got to push this into a hole, this one into a hole, you can use this, and it's just a little bit smaller. So you keep a few of these things around like this because you never know when you're going to need them. Now, you see that's warming up. So we'll put our piece that I just lost. Let me go find it. Okay, I'm back, lost and found. Now, you're going to forget which way this goes on. So this little notch right there, goes towards these two holes for the brake. So this goes on just like that. And yeah, that's all that holds that bearing in. Well, I say all. It's the shaft on the backside cannot physically let it go out once it's clamped in. But assuming that there was no shaft in here and no nut and no bolt on there, there's nothing holding that bearing in except for that. So we get that bolted on, and we'll talk about getting the next piece pressed in. Okay, so now we've got this in here. Now, to make sure that you have it pressed in all the way, it will be all the way, the bearing will be all the way against the little flange that's in there. It's about 3/16 in from the back. So you make sure it's against that flange, there's no gap in here. These things, I don't know what they are. 1/2 inch sort of fits, 13 sort of fits. Whitworth? I really don't know. Nothing really fits the bolts that are on this car very well. It just must have been made on a Tuesday or something. You know, because who knows. But anyway, there we are. So next, we're going to press in our hub, which is this guy here. I'm not reusing these. Normally, in the past, I will take this bearing separator here, I'll reach underneath here, I'll do this, I'll press this off, and I don't screw with that anymore. This part is so cheap. It's like $15. Don't mess with it. Just throw this away, buy a new one. I mean, we're talking 65 bucks for 2 bearings and 2 hubs, and you get all new pieces. You don't have to fight with it taking old stuff apart. So just do it that way. So what we're going to do next is, this is a race from some bearing, and what we'll do is, when I set this on here, this is going to go on the back side of here, okay, with the flare going that way on purpose, so you get a little bigger area. And we now want to support this inside piece, because we're going to put this here, we're going to hold it here, and then we're going to press into that. So we're now messing with the inside area, and basically we'll set this on here, and we'll put a new piece on top and just press it in as far as it'll go. And yeah, it's in the freezer too. And as you can see, this part is I hope you can see it, but I can tell it's cold. It's fresh out of the freezer, starting to get frost on it. So we're going to set this guy, actually let's oil it up first. Oil that up. Just makes it easier. Okay, we'll line that up on there, and I've already slid it in there a little bit. And we'll fight with the press because it's kind of small. I just put that little guy up there for right now. Kind of get it centered up, and see how effortless that is when you put it in the freezer. And that's all it takes. Now you got a new bearing, a new hub, bolts for your lug nuts, and just throw it back on the car. And if I didn't do a voiceover on the taking the part off earlier, it's really hot out there, so I didn't want to mess with it. But this is what cars look like in Texas with, you know, over 100,000 miles. They will look like this at 200,000 miles. When you look at that under the, you know, under the fender there, and everything comes off with hand tools. Yeah, that's what it's like. However, the flip side is that transmissions burn up quickly, engines burn up quickly, interiors rot in the heat. So that stuff holds up well, or doesn't hold up well. The metal holds up well. The rest of it goes to crap. So you got your good and bad points either way. So basically that's about all I've got. It's not that big a deal. Just kind of rushed to doing this, and it's really hot and miserable. So if you got any questions, if I missed something, I will say one thing is, you can, if you really wanted to, you could put something between here and use this bolt to back it out and actually press this off of here. If you went around a circle, you put something in there, you press it out, you run it in, you put something thicker in. You could do that. I don't recommend doing it, but you know, if in a pinch, if you got to do it, you got to do it. Or the other way is, if you have a puller, you can just reach right on here while it's on the car and just, you know, smack that thing out of there. But you're going to possibly damage this sheet metal retainer. Not that it does much anyway. So, well, that's about all I got. See you next time.